While I was working late, my mom posted, "Finally, a vacation with people who matter." I zoomed in on the sunset behind them. My emergency card had been charged $12,400 to that exact resort. I didn't reply. I just opened the app, hit dispute all, and contacted the fraud department. At 6:03 a.m., my sister called twice. Then again. I let it ring. Then I answered once just to announce. I went pale the second I saw it. It was just past midnight, and I was sitting in the break room of the hospital, halfway through a protein bar I didn't even want, scrolling Facebook while waiting for a late lab result to come in. My back ached, my legs were burning, and I had one more patient to check on before I could head home. I was drained, but then I saw the photo, and suddenly I was wide awake. There they were. My mom, Dad, Madison, my sister, and some guy in board shorts with a beer bottle. All of them looking relaxed and sun-kissed, standing on a balcony overlooking a glowing Hawaiian sunset. Palm trees, ocean breeze, the works. The caption read, "Finally, a vacation with people who matter." That was it. No emojis, no explanation, just that. I stared at the screen for a while, completely frozen. Something about the wording hit harder than I expected. I had to read it again just to make sure it said what I thought it did with people who matter. I wasn't tagged. I wasn't even mentioned. And yet, they had flown halfway across the world and posted this like they were free from everything that made their lives stressful, which apparently included me. I tapped the photo to zoom in. The background was unmistakable. A very specific ocean view I recognized from the brochures I had saved months ago when I started planning my dream trip. I'd researched that place, obsessively clicked through every gallery. Kona Reef Resort. It had taken me weeks just to justify even saving it as a possibility. I hadn't booked it because I couldn't afford it, but somehow they had. My stomach dropped. I didn't even go back to the Facebook feed. I switched to my banking app immediately. The emergency card was at the top of my linked accounts. It was supposed to be inactive. I only kept it open because Dad had a health scare a few years ago, and I figured they might need it again in case something serious happened. I never removed their access. And there it was. Charge after charge. $4,100. $3,200. $5,100 plus more from the resort spa restaurant. Even an ocean adventure company. Altogether, over $12,000, all within 3 days, all under my name. I wasn't furious yet. I was stunned. This wasn't an accident. They hadn't gotten hacked or misled. They had only booked a luxury resort vacation, flown there, racked up thousands on my emergency credit card, and then had the nerve to publicly imply that I didn't matter. I didn't call. I didn't comment. I didn't send a message asking if something happened. I opened the credit card app, disputed every charge, froze the account, and flagged it with the fraud department. That card was dead now. At least they wouldn't be able to spend more. At 6:03 a.m., my phone lit up with a call. Madison. I let it ring. She called again and again. Then once more, the fourth time I answered, not to hear excuses, not to let them explain. I just said, "When you land, you'll be getting served." Then I hung up. They chose this, every part of it. They didn't warn me. They didn't ask. And they sure as hell didn't hide it. So now they were going to deal with what came next. Because this wasn't just a betrayal. This was theft. And I was done pretending like family made it okay. They landed 3 days later, right into a storm they hadn't prepared for. By then, everyone in my orbit knew. Not because I told anyone, because my mom did damage control before the damage had even arrived. She must have sensed it. The comments under her vacation post vanished. The caption changed from "a vacation with people who matter" to just 3 flower emojis. I saw that around 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. She thought deleting the evidence would undo the fact that she said it out loud. Didn't. I didn't waste time. The morning after I saw the charges, I consulted a lawyer. She didn't even blink when I laid it out. The card, the trip, the total, the photo. She told me the case was simple. Unauthorized use of funds, breach of financial trust, potential fraud. She'd seen it before. Not often with parents, but she'd seen it. That made it easier. Not emotionally, but practically. So, when they touched down at LAX, sweaty and sunburned, jet-lagged from their little island adventure, they were greeted at home with a manila envelope on their doorstep, filed, notarized, and delivered. Inside, a civil suit naming both my parents and, just for formality's sake, Madison. Though I had every reason to believe she didn't swipe the card herself. It was still her vacation. My phone didn't stop buzzing for 48 hours. First, it was Madison. She texted me, "Hey, can we talk?" 4 times before calling. Then, she texted again saying she had no idea the card was mine. She claimed she thought my parents had saved up. I didn't respond, and I didn't open the door when she showed up outside my building. I saw her from the peephole. She stood there for about 10 minutes pacing, typing something on her phone she never sent. Then she left. Mom called next. She didn't leave a message, but I got a wall of texts after paragraph about how hurt she was. How she couldn't believe I'd betray family like this. That word betray nearly made me laugh. I'd been floating them financially for years. Paid off the last of Madison's tuition because Mom forgot the due date. Covered their property taxes the year Dad couldn't find the envelope. Forgave it every time because I thought maybe they were trying their best. Now I knew better. They weren't trying. They just didn't care who paid the bill as long as it wasn't them. On day 3, I got a formal email from a lawyer representing them. He asked what it would take to make this go away. I gave him the exact amount of the disputed charges. $12,426.37 plus court fees and filing costs. I told him I would withdraw the claim the second I received a certified check in that amount. No installment plans, no favors, no forgiveness. They declined. An hour later, Dad called. I let it go to voicemail. He left a message saying this was insanity and that I was ripping the family apart over some vacation. He said it like I was the problem, like they hadn't lied, stolen, and flaunted it in front of the entire internet. Like they weren't counting on me keeping my mouth shut just like I always had. Mom texted again. This time it was shorter. "This will destroy the family." I didn't reply. She was wrong anyway. The family wasn't destroyed when I filed the suit. It was destroyed the moment they decided to use me and then post about it like I didn't exist. There was a time not long ago when I might have caved. When I would have dropped the whole thing to avoid the guilt, the drama, the mess. But not anymore. That version of me was gone. They killed him somewhere between the spa treatments and the Mai Tais they charged to my name. And I was just getting started. Took 6 days. 6 days of silence from me and pure chaos on their end. I didn't need to be in the same room to feel it unraveling. Came in fragments. Texts from extended family members I hadn't spoken to in months. All dancing around the subject. A message from my uncle in Ohio saying, "I'm sure this is just a misunderstanding, Jack. You've always been level-headed. Just talk to your mom." As if talking was the issue, not $0 and stolen money and a photo caption that erased me from existence. I let them twist. The court filing deadline came and went. I didn't get a response from their side, so my attorney filed a motion to proceed by default. 2 days later, their lawyer emailed asking for an extension to file their answer. I agreed strategically. The longer this dragged on, the more real it became for them. That same day, Madison finally stopped texting and started knocking. She showed up at my apartment again, and this time, she didn't just wait at the door. She buzzed my neighbor, then made her way up the stairs and stood outside my unit knocking for 5 straight minutes. I didn't answer, but I stood in the hallway out of sight, listening. She wasn't crying. She wasn't yelling. She just kept saying my name softly, asking if we could please talk. I didn't move. Eventually, she slipped a folded note under the door that just said, "I didn't know. I really didn't. But they're panicking. Please." It wasn't enough. I didn't respond to her, but I did send a final formal message to their lawyer. I listed the exact amount from the charges $12 for 26.37 and attached documentation of every transaction. I told them clearly that if I received that amount in full, I would withdraw the lawsuit. No payment plans, no discounts, no apologies. I didn't want words. I wanted what they took. 2 days later, I got an envelope hand delivered to my door. No postage, Just a white standard envelope with my dad's handwriting across the front. I opened it carefully. Inside was a certified check for the full amount. $12 for 26.37 exactly. Tucked behind it was a letter not typed, handwritten in uneven blue ink like he'd scrolled it out in a hurry. It said, "We don't want this to go any further. We're sorry it got out of hand. Please withdraw the claim. We're still your family. Let's talk." That last line stayed with me for a while. We're still your family. Like the check was a bandage that made everything fine again. As if money alone fixed trust. As if they hadn't publicly humiliated me and quietly emptied my emergency reserves, thinking I'd either never notice or never speak up. They expected me to fold. They always had. I deposited the check. Then I called my lawyer and we filed the withdrawal. Legally, it was done. The claim was dismissed. I was made whole, at least on paper. But I didn't send them a thank you. I didn't text anyone. I didn't write back. I stayed quiet. They messaged me constantly for the next few days. My dad sent an email with the subject, "We love you," and it was mostly a list of reasons why they felt comfortable using the card. How I had always helped out before. How they assumed I would understand eventually. It wasn't an apology. It was a defense. Madison sent another voice memo. She sounded tired. She said she was relieved it was over and hoped we could put it behind us, that we were lucky to still have each other. Lucky. That word felt like a joke. I never replied. Not to any of them. Because what none of them realized, what they still hadn't grasped, was that the lawsuit wasn't the punishment. It was the warning shot. And now that they'd gotten off easy, they were feeling bold again. And bold people make sloppy decisions. Part 4 is when they decided to play dirty and it backfired hard. It started with a letter, not from them, at least not directly. This one came on heavy cardstock from an address I recognized immediately. The family business. My grandfather's company. The one Dad had inherited and turned into a local contracting powerhouse. The one I'd been quietly helping with unpaid for years. Tax filings, invoicing, even payroll once when their bookkeeper bailed mid-quarter. I did it without complaint because that's what family did. The letter was cold. No greeting, no emotion, just a notification that I was no longer affiliated with the financial or administrative operations of the firm and that my access to internal systems had been revoked. They even changed the QuickBooks password. It hit me in a way I didn't expect. Not because I lost some title. I never had one officially, but because I realized what it meant. They weren't sorry. They were punishing me. They got their money back. And now they wanted revenge. I didn't react. I didn't even tell my lawyer. I just kept it in a drawer. Then the real blow came. I was due to receive a modest payout, $1.1500 from a deferred investment I'd made into the company's expansion 2 years ago. It wasn't formalized with a contract. My mistake, but I had email threads, bank transfers, and years of financial statements showing my involvement. It was supposed to come through that spring. Suddenly, it vanished. No explanation, no money, just silence. When I followed up, I got one short reply from their office manager saying, "Your investment was reconsidered as a personal contribution. The board sees no remaining balance owed." I was stunned. Not because I didn't see it coming, but because it was so blatant. They were rewriting history in real time, pretending like I hadn't been part of any of it, pretending like my help, my hours, my money didn't matter. And for a second, I questioned if it was even worth the fight. They'd cut me off from everything I'd built with them. The damage was done. But then something happened I hadn't expected. A former employee reached out, someone who'd left the company last year under weird circumstances. He messaged me on LinkedIn and said he'd heard what happened. He also said he had something I might want to see. We met for coffee that weekend. He brought a flash drive on it, a trove of old internal emails, conversations between my dad and his business partner discussing how to make Jack's role look unofficial on paper and strip him from distributions in case things go legal. These weren't mistakes. They were deliberate moves to erase me from the books. They were already planning to cut me out before the lawsuit ever began. And then the unexpected gem. One email from my dad, dated 5 months before the vacation. It read, "I know Jack's got savings, but he's tight. We'll book the trip and sort it out later." He'll forgive us like always. That was it. Proof of intent. Proof of manipulation. Proof they never saw me as family in any way that counted. I forwarded the emails to my attorney that night, and I made a decision. I wasn't just going to let them keep the money they owed me. I was going after all of it. Every dollar, every hour, every lie. They wanted to turn this into war. Fine. Then they'd see what losing really looked like. It took 2 days for my attorney to sort through everything from the flash drive. When she called me back, her voice was unusually sharp. You have a case, she said. Not just for the unpaid investment. This is bigger. They committed financial misrepresentation and deliberately altered documentation to deny you rightful compensation. That's fraud, Jack. And we can prove it. It didn't feel like victory. Not yet. Just clarity. We filed the new claim that week. $15,000 for the investment plus $65,000 in damages for breach of verbal agreement, fraudulent misrepresentation, and retaliatory action in bad faith. Total $80,000. This time I wasn't pulling punches. The papers hit their office on a Wednesday morning. By 3:00 p.m., my mom was blowing up my phone again, this time with different energy. No guilt trips, no emotional manipulation, just straight panic. I ignored the first 6 calls, but the 7th came with a voicemail I had to replay twice. It was my dad. I don't know what you think you're doing, but this will crush the business. You need to stop this. We gave you the money. You got what you wanted. You don't need to ruin us. It was the first time he'd sounded genuinely afraid. That was new. I didn't reply. I sent it to my attorney. Then the emails started coming. First from their lawyer trying to negotiate a walkback. Then from Madison saying the company couldn't handle a lawsuit right now. That things were tight. That this could end everything. Everything. That word again. They still didn't get it. There was no everything left. They cut me out. They took what they wanted, erased what they didn't, and expected me to play nice when it got inconvenient. This wasn't revenge. This was collection. They tried to play hardball for another week. Sent me 2 offers. First $20,000, then $40,000. Both got rejected. I wasn't bluffing. I didn't want a piece. I wanted it all. Every hour I worked without recognition. Every dollar they casually erased. Every lie they told themselves about who I was and how far I'd let them go. Then 3 days before the scheduled hearing, I got another check. $80,000. No note this time, just silence. They folded. I deposited it the next morning. Part of me expected something after a call. A scream. Some last-ditch effort to make me feel guilty. But I got nothing. Just one short email from their lawyer confirming the case had been dismissed and that the matter is considered fully resolved. Fully resolved. That was the legal truth. But emotionally, there was nothing resolved about it. The trust was gone. The family ties cut. Frayed, torched. But I'd gotten my life back. After I deposited the check, I waited. Not because I expected a thank you or an apology, but because some small, stupid part of me thought they'd at least try. Try to explain, try to mend what was left. I thought maybe Madison would come by again or Dad would send another stiff letter pretending to be magnanimous or Mom would do that thing where she half apologized while blaming me for not being more understanding. But they didn't. Nothing came. Just silence. The $8,000 hit their books hard. I knew it would. They weren't broke, but they weren't prepared to take a blow like that all at once. My cousin sent me a screenshot a week later. My dad had posted a cryptic Facebook status about how loyalty doesn't mean much these days and some wounds don't come from strangers. It got 6 likes and a few pity comments. I didn't engage. By then, I was already in a different headspace. I started moving on. I found a new apartment, smaller but clean, quiet, closer to the hospital. I stopped working extra shifts. I picked up a weekend trip to Seattle. My first vacation in years. Paid with my own money on my own time. No guilt. It wasn't Hawaii, but it was mine. Then 2 months later, I got the letter. It was from the business again, this time from the board. A formal invitation to a reconciliation meeting to discuss the potential for future cooperation. Translation: they were drowning. The hit they took didn't kill the company, but it rattled it enough that clients noticed, vendors got nervous, and old partnerships started pulling back. Word travels fast when a family-owned business gets publicly sued by a family member and loses. They wanted to sit down, clear the air, see if I'd come back in some capacity, maybe help stabilize things. I didn't answer right away. I let the letter sit for a week. Then I wrote one of my own. It was short, just a single page. I thanked them for the invitation. Then I declined. I told them I had no interest in returning. Not now, not ever. That I hoped the business survived, but it wouldn't be with my help and that I'd moved on fully. I mailed it back in their own envelope. That was it. That was the final answer. No more meetings, no more guilt, no more fake apologies or fragile truces. They gambled that I'd stay quiet, that I'd forgive like always. They lost. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not bitter. I don't need closure. I got my money. I got my peace. And I finally got out. That's enough for me. The update. 3 quiet weeks went by. For the first time in years, my phone wasn't buzzing with drama. I wasn't dodging calls or monitoring bank activity or wondering what version of the truth my parents were selling to the rest of the family. I was just existing, sleeping better, working less. For once, I felt like my life actually belonged to me. Then the email came. I almost missed it. It landed in my other folder buried between spam and some expired promo codes. The subject line said, "Please read this. It's about the company, the sender, Nicole R." Took me a few seconds to place the name. Then it hit me. Nicole used to be my dad's assistant. She worked at the office longer than most of the staff had. Quiet, extremely organized, and fiercely loyal to my dad. She left about a year ago. I remember hearing something vague about her stepping away for health reasons, but no one ever said much else. Her message was short. No small talk. Just, "I know what happened with the lawsuit. I have something you need to see. Please, just one meeting. After that, I'll disappear." I wasn't sure what to think. Part of me suspected it was a trap or worse, some manipulative stunt cooked up by my parents. But Nicole didn't have that kind of energy. She never played games. So I met her. She picked a little cafe in Echo Park. Nothing fancy, just a place with outdoor seating and bad parking. She was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with a plain manila folder in front of her, like we were in some low-budget legal drama. She looked different, thinner, more tired, but her eyes were still sharp. When I sat down, she didn't waste time. She pushed the folder across the table and said, "I wasn't supposed to keep any of this. I was told to shred it before I left." I didn't. I opened the folder. Inside were copies of internal memos, spreadsheets, old email printouts, and photocopies of signed financial transfers. I scanned them slowly. Then I saw it, my name tied to an account I didn't know existed. It was a secondary investment fund under the company's development arm. 2 years ago, I'd given them a small lump sum, $110 to help expand their equipment inventory. They told me I'd get a modest return once the rentals started bringing in money. What Nicole had brought me showed that the account hadn't just grown, it had ballooned. Through contracts and subcontractor deals, the fund had quietly accumulated over $45,000 in profit. But I'd never seen a dollar. I wasn't just left out, I was scrubbed out. My name appeared in the initial filing, then vanished from every quarterly report after that. They didn't dissolve the account. They just rewrote the ownership structure, moved my name off the books, and kept collecting on it. "They knew you wouldn't dig," Nicole said. "You never questioned them. They counted on that." She paused. "And I know what they did to you with the trip, the card, the lawsuit. This was never about a vacation. That was just the part they couldn't hide." She handed me a flash drive. "Everything's on here. Emails, reports. I didn't keep it because I wanted to take sides. I kept it because it was wrong." I asked her why she was giving it to me now. She looked down and said, "Because they told people I was sick, that I left because I couldn't handle stress. The truth is, I called out your dad when I saw him signing off on the account transfers. I told him, 'You deserve to know.' He told me to stay out of family business. Then I was encouraged to resign." She stood up, pushed her empty coffee cup to the edge of the table and said, "I don't need anything from you, but you should know this goes deeper. They're still doing it. Then she walked away. I drove home in silence. When I got there, I plugged in the flash drive and spent the next 3 hours combing through everything. There were documents tying my name to 3 separate accounts and worse. Notes indicating they'd planned to do the same to another cousin who had been promised to share in a side project but never got it. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a pattern. They paid me off once. I thought that was the end. But this was fraud. Systemic, documented, hidden for years. And suddenly I wasn't just the wrong son. I was a whistleblower.